October is National Children's Health Month. So this morning, Pediatrician Dr. Cyrus joins us to talk about protecting our kiddos. Good morning, Dr. Cyrus. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
These are our most precious, precious angels. Protecting kids, it just makes sense. But you've kind of broken this down into various areas. We're going to talk about protecting kids where they live, where they learn, and where they play. And I mean, it's really vital for us to have these conversations to make sure it's not just mom and dad anymore, because there's so many people caring for children these days.
That's so true. We have foster parents, we have grandparents, we have, just caregivers in general, and parents alike should be looking at where the children are living, where they're learning, and where they're playing as far as protecting them. When you think about where they live, one of the very big things is, lead exposure. We're seeing in our clinic a rise in lead exposure and lead levels, even in 1-year-olds. That's when we're checking at 1 and 2 years of age, as well as mold and carbon monoxide, especially as we're moving into the winter months, into the fall. It's getting cooler. We're going to be kicking our furnaces on. We need to be, looking at that. Also, proper ventilation and filtration, making sure that we're not having any type of viruses or bacteria that are floating around in the system, that our ventilation is good in the home. And of course, protecting against chemical exposures. Usually those are found underneath the kitchen sink. They can be really, really a problem. And then of course, pesticides, in the garage, and making sure that children are not exposed to those pesticides.
Making sure, especially in this kitchen, like the latches are such an easy thing to make sure the kids are putting things up high where they are not accessible. Just a good reminders of how to navigate, because those little hands and that inquisitive mind, you just can't protect them all the time. You're always you need that extra layer.
That's so true. I mean, they try to mimic what you're doing. They may see you using the chemical, and they don't understand. So it's extremely important that we keep them safe, especially where they're living. And of course, learning is extremely important, whether at school. Keep maintaining a safe, healthy environment for the children. Again, their ventilation, their filtration, making sure that things are good there. There's not excessive mold or excessive moisture. We also want to make sure that we enhance children's focus and their performance in school, so that we make every minute count when they're in the educational realm. And focusing on their mental and their physical health, not only outside activity, but things that are strong for their brains and things that are really good for them to learn with. And of course, always preventing bullying, violence in the schools, everything we can do to help there.
Yeah, and we're really appreciative. Oftentimes schools will provide counselors or have opportunities for interaction between, an adult and a child that may be struggling on a day. Those parent-teacher conferences, I mean, it's just kind of knowing the players and getting connected. And sometimes parents or guardians need to take that initiative to connect, because, a teacher has maybe 30 kids or more that they're trying to navigate and don't know all the particulars.
Well, it's so true. Then you think about just what Ryan Walters said about tutoring. When we when we have a child that's struggling in class, and maybe the parents are working, the guardians are working, and they don't have time to tutor. So using that as a tool is extremely important. And then, of course, there's always that place of play. And play is such an important part of a child's life. It's ways to socialize and a way to strengthen their muscles and coordination and all that. So obviously protecting them from the sun is extremely important. Enhancing their hydration, not allowing them to get dehydrated, protecting them and maintaining healthy exercise, as well as from keeping them from injuries. That's really a focus that we have to balance with our coaches, with our, sometimes our lay coaches, and sometimes our, our professional coaches, that we want to make sure that we protect our children from injuries, and that they actually have time to rest and recuperate if they do get injured.
Yeah. Well, we only have about 30 seconds left. Anything you want to highlight to really bring home this point?
Well, protecting our children, how do we do it? Secondhand smoke is a huge issue at home and elsewhere. So keeping them away from secondhand smoke, vaping, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, extremely important. So again, especially as we go in the winter months, exposure to sunscreen, keep them from too much heat, and then focus on educational success, making them very successful in the educational realm. And then strong mental health is going to be extremely important for our future.
I love it. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in and visiting with us today. We look forward to talking to you again next month.
Thank you very much for having me.